Greg, let's start with some headlines. Your guy, Jahlani Tavai, signs a 2-year, $4.4 million extension. The news came out earlier today. Your thoughts on the signing and what this means big picture to you when you look at how the Patriots actually, work the process with their team?
Sometimes I wonder if is Bill just trying to tweak me? Is he trying to get me going? Maybe, before I go on Felger and Maz, maybe he's a big fan of the show and wants to up the entertainment value. Look, I have a lot of thoughts on this. I will say, first of all, just to clarify for the simpletons out there who haven't listened to our entire discussion about this the whole way. I have nothing against Jahlani Tavai. If he was in a backup role, special teamer, okay, fine. I have no problem with that. My issue with Tavai arose very quickly in training camp when it became apparent that he wasn't just slated for a backup role or a special teams role, that he was actually going to play a lot of snaps for this defense. And that has come to fruition this year. I think it says a lot of things. I'm waiting for ultimate judgment until this Bills game, but I do think that the Vikings game is a good jumping off point in that what has really changed for this defense? You basically exchanged Dante Hightower and Kyle Van Noy, who were better than Jahlani Tavai, with Tavai. And, we're talking about, the whole thing that we heard about was, well, this defense we're going to get faster. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. All of my lowest rated games for Tavai are basically the games that they've lost where they've looked slow on defense. Chicago, Baltimore, Miami, the Vikings game. Those were the games where the Patriots needed to win games. We know they could beat the bag out of the bad teams. Tavai, I had him in 3-up. He might have been he was one of my top rated players against the Jets, the last Jets game, the Colts game, Pittsburgh. Wonderful. Those offenses stink. I don't care how the Patriots play defense in those games. I care how they play defense against the better offenses like Minnesota, like Buffalo on Thursday night coming up here. So, if Belichick, and we're going to talk more about this, but if Belichick has something in his bag that involves Jahlani Tavai, fine, okay. I'll come off and say Bill was right. But to me, this is more about how they couldn't find anybody else at middle linebacker. Cam McGrone couldn't do it. Mac Wilson couldn't do it. Raekwon McMillan couldn't do it. So Tavai was really all that they had. And so, yeah, he's smart. He does his assignments well. That's really good. He's tough. Okay, fine. Yeah. But, I've heard from some people on Twitter, of course, who are like, oh, you're going to apologize now? Hell no, I ain't apologizing. Jahlani Tavai is a starter on this team, tells you everything you need to know about this roster. Again, pending the Bills game. If they don't win this game, if they can't get off the field on defense against any of these teams down the stretch, you people should be apologizing to me. This is the same outfit that made LJ Humphrey a starting wide receiver in 2 of the first 5 games this year. And I was ranting against it. And guess what? He's not on the roster anymore. And it also says something about the sway that Matt Patricia has. This is a guy who drafted Jahlani Tavai in the 2nd round in 2019 in Detroit. Nick, you know what he ran? You know what his 40 time was coming out of school?
What was it, Greg?
4.89. I think that's like Bailey Zappi territory. So to me, this is, Belichick giving Matt Patricia, his guy, hey, you want one of your binkies? I get to keep like 4 or 5 binkies every year. I'll give you one. This is one of them. Look, if they gave him an extension for around the league minimum, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I don't really have a huge problem with this contract because he does give he covers the Patriots on 4 downs in the worst case scenario because he does do a good job on special teams. But to give him double the base salary For the next 2 years, it's a joke. It's a joke, and I'm afraid what it means for this team going forward. Sorry.
I'm not sure that there were a lot of teams banging down the door of Jahlani Tavai to sign him if he's a free agent. That's number one. Number two, I will say, as you just said, there is a caveat. If there's some grand plan, which, we did not see it against Lamar Jackson. We did not see it against Justin Fields. We have not seen it against the very athletic teams they have faced on a consistent basis. When I talk about athleticism, I'm mostly talking about the quarterback. So if they shock us, if this is something where Belichick had in his back pocket a plan, okay. The other thing I would say is, if they make an offseason move that will improve the depth at linebacker, and Tavai does eventually slide in as the backup, linebacker, then I could justify it and say, okay, they've got a decent, veteran backup guy who minds the P's and Q's, who won't lose his ass. But if the plan is we're signing Tavai to an extension because he's affordable and he's trustworthy, he's not explosive, he's not an impact player, but he's a guy who will do all the right things for us, then it is going down the same road. And we see where the road leads, which is not being able to defend these mobile athletic quarterbacks on a consistent basis. So we'll see how it all comes together.